What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Strength Solutions Podcast. You can find us on Apple and Spotify. Please follow, and you can give us a review, a honest 5 stars. Then you can follow us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. We have an amazing channel where we actually put some lifts in and some quick tips on our YouTube shorts. So right now, I want y'all to all stop and actually get your friend that's right next to you to follow and subscribe. Then we have a website, ssempowered.com. We have free blogs, free guides, and programs for their own purchase as well. Our email is strengthsolutionsempowered@gmail.com. Social media, Facebook, Strength Solutions, TikTok, strength.solutions.pod, and Instagram, Strength Solutions Empowered. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
All right, let's get ready. Buddy, there's a problem. A big problem with people overtraining.
Yeah.
And do you know how to spot some of these guys?
How?
Literally, I'm going to give you a list right here.
Give it to me.
So the first one, people who tend to overtrain. Competitors.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've been competitive in your past, whether it's different sports, athletes, or maybe that's the way you were just raised overall, like beast mode mentality, right? Yeah. I feel that this group does a really good job of overtraining, nourish themselves, under sleep and recovery.
Under resting, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like this group is a big thing. And the reason being is they've grown up like this their whole life.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like they have like no chance, quote unquote, right? A lot of my clients who were like athletes in high school or things like that, it's super hard to get them to like step back, and be like, hey, like, now we need to focus on these, or we're older now, or whatever it is, right? And
you're not a teenager anymore.
Yeah, like we don't have that ability to recover as quickly anymore, and it's always a kind of a tough lesson to learn, but I think that most of them tend to like thrive once that actually happens. And you see a lot of gains happening, and it is funny though that you can kind of like spot them out, like as soon as someone comes in and they're like, oh, well, I used to do this in the past, or I used to do that, I'm like, okay, it's already going to be maybe a little bit difficult to kind of talk to them down.
Yeah. I would say like with this group, you have to be very careful because you don't want to take the competitiveness away from them.
Yeah.
Because you could use it and tailor it, right?
Definitely.
And as a trainer, they just got to understand moments of it's time to rest. It's time to kind of relax. We need to recover to facilitate adaptation and growth.
Right.
And I think, especially high school athletes, you don't have the best coaches. And that plays a big role of why you don't recover. Now, college athletes today have really great coaches.
Totally different.
They understand the concept of how much to eat, how much to work out, and get themselves back with sleep and recovery. Yeah. But back then, there was nothing, especially when I went to high school, it was like literally just killing yourself. I remember they were like, just run bleachers and then run a mile. It has nothing to do with football skill set.
It's just like,
but you're just doing anything to get yourself killed.
Yeah. Because I think at the end of the day, that's like what they expect, right? Or maybe that's the way they were trained, right? And then so it just kind of continues this cycle of like bad training, through the years. And then it's like you think about a lot of high school coaches or just teachers or anything, they're there for years, right? Correct. Years and years and years. So you never learn anything new. They get comfortable. There's no new like perspectives or anything like that, coming in, and then it just kind of stays the way it is. And I mean, in all fairness too, it's like a totally different level in like college to high school, you know what I mean? So you really have to be trained a different way, and it's more of like a career job / thing once you're in college for some people, right? And so it just becomes like a whole different monster.
Yeah, and the next group of people is the type A personality. And where I think a lot of these people go wrong is in work and in business and in life. Working harder and harder and harder gives you results, and you keep on working harder and harder and harder in fitness, it does not give you results.
Yeah, and I think that's the fallacy, right? A lot of people think I just have to push more, or I'm not pushing enough, or whatever it is, and then you just kind of end up like in the recovery trap, right, where you're constantly pushing and nothing is happening, and you get frustrated and everything like that. Type A people are definitely some of the individuals that I tend to work I'm the least compatible with, just like as an individual.
I'm with you,
yeah. I mean, I definitely will work with them. And I think
you probably learned how to talk to them too, right?
Yeah. And I think honestly, well, I guess if you look at it in a different way, I might be the most compatible with them, right? Because they might need someone like me,
Correct.
right? You know, as opposed to someone else who's just going to continue that cycle of pushing and trying harder and everything like that, where a lot of these individuals already have an extremely stressful life, right? And that's probably why they're that type A individual. And then it's funny too, you sent me something, one of the contents that we were looking at, I don't know if it's in this too, but it was about how, at least like in American culture, we sort of reward that hard work, you know, and it becomes like addictive. And there's no real, you know, rationally you're thinking like, well, if in business I do really well when I work hard, or, you know, if I, you know, if my friends are telling me, well, look at you, or I'm getting promoted or whatever it is, you just keep continuously getting like a dopamine hit, you know, every time you work hard, and you just chase it and chase it and chase it. And that might work in corporate reality, right?
Correct,
but in your physical health, it's honestly probably one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect story. I had this lady who's type A personality, worked for the doctors. She did more the admin half, the financials.
Okay.
And she was a go-getter. Yeah. Working out really hard. I can't lose weight. Nothing's happening. And literally the only thing I said was, on your days off, I just want you to do yoga. Yeah. All of a sudden started losing weight.
Yeah, because you're in that like stress mode.
Yeah, we're in stress mode. You probably either making poor decisions eating. Yeah. Also in stress mode, that research that we read a while back about, or I don't know if we read it, but if you're stressed, you tend to absorb a lot more calories because your body sees it as like maybe there's stress in your environment. There's not an abundance of food. And so eating the same amount of calories, you're actually absorbing a lot more calories.
Interesting.
All right. Next person. Kind of like you said, a drug, people who use exercise as a drug. Yeah. So a lot of these people might have been alcoholics or into some other sort of drug and addicted to it, and they just flip it into
trading one habit for another.
You know, I could be guilty of this. When I was marathon training, I kind of used marathon training as a drug, and I enjoyed running, and I continued to run. After the marathon, I kept on running, and I would neglect other things. So I think Jordan Side had a really good post this week about his body at his top peak powerlifting and how it wasn't balanced lifestyle. I was in that same exact boat, 7%, running all the time, didn't go out much. I didn't have very much of a social life at that point. All I did was school, work, and work out. School, work, and work out. So understanding there's different balances to life. And at a moment, it might be more work, it might be more family, might be more social, but you use exercise as a drug, you end up losing everything else.
Yeah. It's just like anything else, right? And I think the thing is too that, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier also, is that when you're in that position and you do look good, right? And you're posting your photos, your people are seeing you at, you know, on vacation with your shirt off or whatever. Everybody, yay, you know, clap, look at you. You look so, how did you get that? You know? So you're encouraged to continue, you know, even if you do feel like shit, you know what I mean? Where it's the exact same thing as if I saw someone laying on the ground, you know, cause they were doing crazy drugs or whatever it is, you know, and everybody goes, boo. Yeah. What are you doing with your life? You know what I mean? And it truly is.
It's like, crazy, right?
It truly is in the same sense, right? Like the similar thing where it consumes you. It's every aspect of your life. But one of them we praise socially, and one of them we like turn a blind eye to, you know? And it's odd, you know, the way that it works that way. But yeah, I've always heard that, like, where if you have a habit, you never really like stop having it, you just kind of swap it out for something else. And sure, there's a million worse things you could do, right? If you're trying to stop drinking, you know what I mean? And you choose exercise. Yeah. There's a million other things you could have been doing bad. You know what I mean? So it also becomes one of those things where people are like, well, I'm exercising, right? Isn't this better? And it's tough to kind of talk people out of that or explain to them how, hey, maybe this isn't the right thing to do.
But there's also exercise detrimental to your health, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the addict part becomes bad.
In this too, I might even add like a sub level to this and say people who use it as like punishment.
Yes. You know? Come in and exercise like from a negative mindset.
Yes. Yeah. So they don't look at it as like I'm improving my body or whatever. Honestly, they're looking at it as like, oh, I ate a slice of cake yesterday, so now I need to run, 3 miles on the treadmill, and I hate, this, and I should have done that. And
I'm such a fat ass.
Yeah, and then they'd push super hard the next day, and then you're just stuck like doing this because you're gonna go back the next day and you're gonna feel like shit about it, so you're probably gonna overeat, and then you know like this whole thing.
No, I get it, because I used to be like that.
Yeah,
my mindset's so much better today.
Yeah,
like my weekend was poor this weekend, and then now I'm back to normal.
Yeah, and it's you just go back to it, right? I remember this one point in my life, I was at I had a treadmill in my room. And I would use it all the time, like all day, just constantly on it, because I wanted to be fit, man. That was like my whole goal when I was younger. But I would use it as like a punishment type thing, where I was like, oh, I stayed up late eating, and now I gotta do the treadmill all day.
Man, the human mind's funny.
Yeah, and I was young too. Like in middle school. Like what the fuck.
But don't you think like this negative mindset's so normal to humans? It's like that's what we figure is the best route, but it's not.
Yeah, it's funny.
So this next one is postpartum moms, and theirs is not so much like they're going beast mode, but their effective dose is a lot lower because of the situation where they just had a baby.
I see.
And so therefore they're more likely to overwork out, because they could think what they did before the pregnancy is where they should start. And it's usually start a little bit less. And actually by starting slower, you'll get better results long term. You'll be more connected to your core, which was just ripped apart pretty much, right?
Literally. Yeah.
And therefore you're just doing too much by thinking you could do what you did before.
Yeah, one of my clients actually showed me this person on Instagram, and I think their name is Always or Get Mom Strong or something like that. And it is she's cool. I like her because she has like programs and other things like that, but she's very much like, let's start slow. Let's, begin again. You know what I mean? Because you have like a new body, right? You know what I mean? Like that is truly what it is. The body you had before pregnancy is not. Yeah, there she is right there. Yeah. Okay. She has super good content. I like her a lot. One of my clients that I'm working with right now, she has small kids, and she said that person really helped her out like throughout that process, and even now too, because it's very realistic about like we are short on time and we have different things going on now and et cetera and stuff like that. So it's very important to kind of make sure that if you are in that situation, you gotta really reset your mindset about what's going to take you back,
Yeah. And by doing that, you might just set yourself back further, right? If you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, if you're already stressed out or frustrated with where you are now, it's like, that's the last thing you want to hear,
All right. The next one is just divorced people. Right?
The post breakup,
dude. Post breakup, just divorce. Right? You like that one, right?
Yeah, that's super good. Yeah, because a lot of people do that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I almost see it too glorified. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of like,
gotta look good for my single girls out there.
Even just like half of it is like sort of silly, half of it isn't. Because I'll see, obviously, my algorithm is like more tailored towards like guy stuff. So like, it'll be a dude in the gym, and, the caption is like, I'm on my like, grind era because, I just ended this relationship or whatever. And everybody's like, you got it, bro. You can do this. And it's super encouraging, right? Especially when you're like probably pretty down. You want to hear that, But I think a lot of people do it as a form of like, I guess it's a way to like boost self-esteem and stuff like that, which is great, right? Again, a million other things that you could be doing that are probably not that great. Yeah. But it's one of those things where you really have to be careful, because then I think that you again start to kind of use it as like a drug, right?
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I don't think I overtrained because I wasn't even literally able to, but it's like, I definitely used it when I was out of my first relationship. It was like the first thing I did was like, I'm gonna fucking do the gym. Cause again, like I said, I had always wanted to and stuff like that. But it was one of those things where every time I felt sad, I was like, I'm just gonna work out. I'm just gonna do this. Right. Probably, like I said, a great thing to do, but I can totally see how it's just, you just start doing it all the time, so that you're like not actually processing what you're going through, you know?
Yeah. And this leads to the next group, New Year's resolution people. And it goes back to you're brand new to exercise, like someone who may have just gotten divorced and hasn't been exercising, trying to get back in shape. You're going from 0 to 100 again.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the postpartum mom. The effective dose is a lot lower than you think it is.
Right.
And I remember this one story where this woman was at the gym, and I was talking to her, and she was doing 2-a-days after not being at the gym all the time. Like, she'll come and do cardio, do weights, like going really hard. And I told her, you need to stop because you're going to get sick by February, right around Valentine's Day, sick like clockwork. And I was like, I told you not to go so hard.
Yeah.
Then she gets burnt out in March, doesn't come back for another 6 months.
Damn.
And it's one of those things, like, you have to be consistent with working out today. The environment yesterday was more about moving, and you're doing jobs that had you moving the entire time. Today, you're at your desk, you're sitting down, you're doing nothing. So you have to exercise today. You have to make this as part of your life at this point.
It's a simulation of the life we used to have, right? I agree, man. New Year's resolution, that's a tough one because I feel for him. Because a lot of people are like so motivated and like, man, I'm so ready to make a change in my life and stuff like that. And I get it. But you definitely have to find that balance. You got to figure out what's actually going to be consistent. Like, dude, it's crazy to hear about people doing 2-a-days. I've been working out since like 2016. Never once in my life have I been to the gym twice in a day. You know?
And it's crazy because I work in a gym where they don't have to have trainers. I've seen it like quite often.
Yeah.
And it just is crazy to me. They don't have the physique they want, yet the physique they want, there's people only going in once a day.
Working out 3 times a week.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. Cause it's like, I haven't ever seen it. I've never seen it. I don't understand why a normal person would need to do two-a-days, you know?
I think it just goes back to our high school being athletes, and we think that this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to work harder. We're reaffirmed for working hard. So it goes back all the way to the top, right? And over and over again, this is why people overtrain. Yeah. Now, the last group, this group is a special group to me because it's me and you. And we are probably the most guilty of overtraining.
Sure.
And also the reason we're guilty is a lot of fitness people actually take steroids as well, or some sort of testosterone that is more than just a replacement dose. Yeah. And it's easy to overtrain. You're at the gym all the time. And like, you want to look a certain part for Instagram and social media. Yeah. And super easy. I don't really overtrain just because I couldn't before. Now I can because I was telling you all about my workout.
Right.
Yeah, I can see how people do. Yeah. Because I was feeling good and I was like Zercher squatting 200.
That's insane, dude.
You know, and I felt like I could have gone up. So, but I'm listening to my HRT specialist. So.
Right. There you go. Yeah. And so it's like, for me, I don't think that I overtrain in the sense of like, and so I guess here's a perspective too. There's like different ways of overtraining, right? So yeah, there could be the person who comes into the gym and like murders themselves, you know, and then comes back later that same day to do it again, right? Yeah. I think that I have a tendency to not take deload weeks or breaks from long stints of training. Like so I did a program, it was about 6 to 8 weeks long. I maybe took like a couple days off and I was like, I'm ready to go again, you know? And so I wrote this program and I'm kind of back at it again. And, you know, in the back of my head, I'm like, maybe I should take a little bit longer. You know, I probably could have, but you know, in my head, I'm like, well, I just like working out. I'm doing it. I will say that this one is a lot less intense. There's not so much volume. Like literally I'm doing like 1, maybe 2 exercises a day. So it's like, it's a little bit lower. I will say it's heavy lifting, right? But I made the
this is the program you're telling me you're writing?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I made the resolve. And also I think that it's important in things like this, that a lot. So like half the program, like let's say if I'm there for an hour, right? The actual lifting part is maybe like 20 to 30 minutes. The rest of it is a lot of mobility, a lot of working on stuff that I think is weak, a lot of other stuff. So, you know, at least at the very least, I'm like making sure that it's not as, just there's not as much frequency or volume in it. So we'll see how it goes. But, you know, I think we've all been guilty of being like, fuck it, let's go for another program.
I could never do it.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for me to.
But maybe now you can.
Yeah, it's kind of scary because I'm hitting that phase of the program I'm running where I usually have to bail out. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I need to push this harder. Yeah. In my head the other day when I was doing the 200, I was like, I got to push this harder. Got to push this harder.
So now you get it. You know what I mean?
I do get it, dude. And I'm recovered today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like expecting to be fucking sore.
It's like today I'm like a little sore. I've been doing a lot of squatting, and I think that's the thing where I'm like, maybe I need to back the
barbell back squatting.
Yeah.
That's a lot of load.
It's a lot, you know? And so it's like today I was like, my hips are a little like sore, you know? And so I was like, and I usually don't feel like that And that's where I'm kind of like,
And this is why you don't work out with another guy, because I would have told you, bro, just push it. You're good.
Bro. Don't be, you gotta exit bitch mode, bro.
All right, so I haven't seen you in a while. What'd you do this weekend? Man. Did you party hard? You know, everybody knows you're younger than me, so you probably got drunk and wasted.
Yeah, dude, just absolutely blacked out all weekend. No, Friday I got out of work super late, like I was just telling you. So I got home around like maybe, I don't know, dude, 8 o'clock. Literally, I was like, I just want to fucking take a shower and lay down. So that's like all we did that night. Then we watched some TV. Saturday, you know, we kind of woke up and we were like, what do you want to do today? And then we were like, let's just like do nothing. So just kind of hung out at home, played some video games, got some work done, cleaned up a little bit. Sunday, same thing, man. So it was a pretty chill weekend. That's okay too, because I was looking at my schedule this week and I had like 40 sessions stacked throughout the week, and I was like, whew, that's a long one. So had a good restful weekend. It was pretty nice. What about you, man?
My week is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Not as stacked.
Oh, so you're the partier, huh?
Yeah. But I was busy this weekend, so I worked on Saturday. And then after that, I went to this event called Los Leones because my daughter's art got chosen to be shown.
Oh, you were telling me about that.
It's a north side kind of thing, right?
Okay.
And so we went there. Then I had bro time, or dropped off the girls, had bro time with Christian at Biggs.
Okay.
And then I got my beard trim.
I know, it's looking good. I saw you today and I was like, something's a little different.
Yeah. So I got my beard trim and clean, got Christian a haircut. Then when I went to my in-laws, got home really late on Saturday. So I had no free time on Saturday.
That's rough.
And then Sunday, I did a lot of yard work. I don't know if you walked in, you saw less leaves on the ground.
You know, I don't care.
Started putting out stuff for bulk pickup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
By the time, I guess it was around like noonish hit, showered, went to my in-laws because Amanda's grandma was here. So did that, went to the restaurant. Then I came back and then I had to go to a concert at night for Amanda's Mother's Day gift.
Oh, okay.
It's Don Omar.
Dude, one of my clients was there, bro. Or one of my ex-clients, right? Yeah. She'll probably say, yeah. That was fucking awesome, dude. Was it cool?
It was good.
You love that guy, right?
Yeah, I love him. Yeah.
He's like an OG.
He's an old.
Yeah, okay,
I like the old stuff, the beat of the old stuff and stuff. Now it's more like trap kind of music.
Reggaeton?
You know, reggaeton.
Yeah, okay.
Like Bad Bunny's more like they're a little bit more hip hop based. It's not like true like reggae beats.
Okay.
And so I like the more reggae sounding beats.
Interesting. Okay. Is that what reggaeton is?
Yeah, reggaeton is like a mix of reggae and hip hop.
Interesting.
Beats and stuff like that. I think it started in Panama or Costa Rica. I can't remember.
Okay.
It started there, but actually the Puerto Rican artists are the ones that made it really famous with like Daddy Yankee, Don Omar, Winston Yandel.
It's funny when I was younger, like, dude, those are the guys that all I ever heard about. Yeah. Was like I know Daddy Yankee. You know, I probably don't know the songs off the top of my head, but if you played them, I'd be like, oh, I remember hearing that. You know,
Gasolina probably. Like,
dude, I was just singing that song the other day. I was singing that Camille's all dancing. So I was like, this is a bad song, right?
Yeah. I remember you're gonna fill her up, right?
Being in elementary school and be like,
that's all talking about filling up a girl.
So I don't know if the song is about.
It's called The Cream Pie.
Oh my god!
You didn't know what you're saying.
No, dude, I'm in gym class. Yay!
Dude, what other songs have you thought about? You're like, I sang that when I was a kid.
I'll be honest, not a lot, because I did listen to a lot of like rock, and even then when I was young, so like I didn't really like have a lot of I guess like experience with like hip hop or any of those things. It's like I remember really, but
even rock, you're like Wait Bleed, like
sure,
like it's like a harsh song.
The other day I was listening to the version that most people probably hear is like the radio edit of the song. Everybody knows the song "Down with the Sickness" from Disturbed, right?
I love that song.
Yeah, it's a great song. Yeah, but
you know the meaning behind it. Yeah,
if you listen to like the whole like extended actual like version of the song, God, it's like hard to listen to. Yeah, dude. Yeah, and it's like, you know, I'd be like, get down with the sickness. And I'm like, I probably should not have been listening to that.
And then I was all like, Drowning Pool. No, is it Drowning Pool?
Bodies? Is that
Bodies? Yeah. What? Nothing's wrong with me. Dude, nothing's wrong with me.
It's in your room all angsty, man. So funny, dude. Yeah. And then there's like other silly songs that I think about too. Like today, what was playing at the? We were playing like some weird music at the gym today, but they were playing like Copacabana and like the Pina Colada song and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm like, these songs have some weird ass lyrics, dude. Like, what's the song about?
Dude, it's crazy when you think about like all the songs and you're like, man, my parents actually listen to that.
Yeah. And it's like, it makes me wonder. I'm like, did they just not care? Did they not listen to it, or like, what, they just like checked out?
I remember listening to this one Katy Perry song. And I was like, did she just say like two girls kissing?
Yeah.
I was like, I think it was Teenage Dream. I was like, what?
That's just the way it was, man.
I was like, but you're all singing it and you don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it just shows like you can like play music in front of your kids and they won't know.
They're not gonna have zero clue,
unless you make it a deal, right?
Yeah. It's like I didn't figure this stuff out until I was like 20,
dude. So I listen to like a reggaeton and I'm just like dirty, just like
filthy.
Okay. Like people who listen to Bad Bunny is like, oh. I don't think they'd really understand. Like people who don't really understand,
especially if it's in a different language, right? Yeah,
you're just like, I love this song. And I was like, do you know what he just said? Like, there's one La Humpa, and he talks about like coming in a girl's mouth, right,
God,
and her spitting it into the other girl's mouth.
Oh my god!
And I'm just like, what the fuck?
Damn, dude. And
but
like,
if you don't know the language or you don't like stop, it's just like, oh, even if you knew the language, it's just like you're just singing it. You don't even realize it.
It's like subconscious.
Or like, there's another Bad Bunny with I think it's Como Se Siente, and he talks about coming like all the time. And
that's just the whole song. Yeah.
I was just like, what?
All I know is the girlfriend songs. I got a lot of girlfriends.
Girlfriend. All right, let's stop talking about girlfriends coming and stuff. So you sent me this Planet Fitness video.
Oh yeah,
and pretty much what Planet Fitness is.
Yeah. It was like a satire-ish type video, right? Where they were talking about Planet Fitness and sort of their business model. And we've talked about it before, and we're all super aware, especially in the fitness space, right? And it was like, they're talking about the business model of Planet Fitness and how it's like essentially this gym that is quote unquote, judgment free, no judgment zone. Mm-hmm. But the people that we can judge are like all of the, big bodybuilder guys or anybody who makes like any sort of noise while lifting, or like anybody who does squats or deadlifts, which is kind of crazy because that's like what we try and promote, right? Like these are the exercises that you need to be healthy and all this stuff. It's almost like this, I'm getting on my conspiracy stuff, but it's almost like this thing where it's like, let's keep these people not ever making any progress. Yeah. So they continue to pay this extremely low rate of $10 a month, so that we can just like make a scam passive income. It's a scam, really. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I guess if you go in and you truly do use the equipment, then, it's not. But like what percentage of the people are actually using the equipment at Planet Fitness, in the right way.
And the way they have it set up, I don't know if you've been to Planet Fitness?
Yeah.
Where like they have a fence around the treadmill just to make you feel like a corral. So like you're like a cow or an animal, right? So it discourages you to actually
it discourages you from like getting out of it, right? Yeah,
and then also to be a judgment-free zone, you sure are judgy a lot.
Very, yeah. I mean, like I go to Planet Fitness. I've been to Planet Fitness maybe like 2, 3, 4 times in like the past like year, really. And like, to be honest, I feel kind of uncomfortable, like I'm like, well, I know I can't,
like you're getting judged because you're stronger than everybody.
Yeah, like I'm like, okay, well, I know I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do, or else people are gonna look at me, How high does the dumbbells go there? Like 55? I want to say that's probably the max that I've seen, even on like the fixed bar rack. I think it's like maybe 50, 60 pounds,
dude, which is crazy to me.
Yeah. Because it's like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Yeah, I think it's like 50 or 60 is like the bottom rack. You know what I mean? Like that's it, Dang. Same thing with the dumbbells too. And then I've talked about this, but it was a long time ago. So when I first started working out, I worked at a Planet Fitness. I worked out there for like the first maybe year of my like coming into working out and stuff. And really all they have is machines. I didn't touch a single dumbbell. Because I honestly, I didn't even know what I was doing, and then I remember distinctly there was a lat pull down machine. I would use that a lot because it's very unintimidating, and I would just like max the shit out of that thing, do like 120, bam, bam, doing a lat pull down, I was probably like the same weight. And I'll never forget, dude, coming to where you work. And I remember I had asked the owner, I was like, hey, could I come in? and just like try out some of the equipment. So if I have clients come in and stuff like that, I'm not like walking around like a dumbass, like, where's this? Where's that? And he was like, yeah, sure, do whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. So one day I pull up, I go inside. You guys have like those classic lat pull down machines, at the front. And I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna get on this shit and like show what's up, Dude, I remember slapping 120 on that thing and I was like, dude, could not, for the life of me pull it down. And I remember standing there looking at it and I was like, my first thought, I was like, wow, those weights at Planet Fitness are fake as fuck. And I was like, I got to drop this down like 80 pounds, like half of it, dude. Yeah. And I was like, and this thing, cable tension, is the machine new or is it old, whatever. But I'm just like, come on, dude. If I got to drop it 60 pounds to like get it down, that's a little bit too much.
Those are harder, I got to tell you that. Yeah, but not that much.
Not that much different, right? Yeah. And I was just like, wow, like, is this really what's happening? And I've heard this before where some people are like, oh, I don't think the weights at Planet Fitness are real and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, dude. But did you also hear what happened at Planet Fitness? An older lady went to the restroom.
Dude, I just was talking about this. Yeah.
They found a trans, I guess, person.
Yeah, who was in
there. And they were
there.
in a women's.
And I think they were just like kind of minding their own business, doing whatever. And so the person who went in there who felt uncomfortable, right, the non-trans individual, I guess I'll name them, decided to record them, right, and like take it up to the front desk and be like, hey, there's a man in here, and like, I'm uncomfortable and blah, blah, blah. Well, Planet Fitness responded by revoking the non-trans individual's membership, which like rightfully so, right? Like even at Crunch where I go, there's millions of signs in the restrooms that are like, do not take your phone out in here. Don't record anybody. Don't do anything. Like respect people's privacy. You know what I mean? For sure. Beyond anything else. Yeah. If I take my phone out and start recording people, I'm probably going to catch someone in some sort of state of indecency, right?
Yeah.
And you cannot do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, number one, wrong, right? And so they revoked that person's membership. And of course, they're all online, like freaking out and being like, protect the children and blah.
You know what's crazy? You know how much money Planet Fitness has been wiped off the books since then?
Wow. How much?
$400 million.
Dude. So they lost investors, is what you're saying?
No, they lost members.
Whoa.
$400 million wiped off the books. Not just investors, but members. And I think we're getting to a point where, okay, each their own. I get it. But women want to feel safe in their restroom. And they're not going to feel safe with a trans man in there. And they're being, I think it's about time they're going to be honest about it.
And the thing is, too, that like I can sit here and try to convince people. Right. We, and I've learned this lesson over time. Like I can sit here and try and be like, well, think about it this way or this and that, or look at the stats or look at the research or whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. Right. If someone has made up their mind or if someone feels uncomfortable or whatever, I'm not going to change their mind about it because number one, they want to be right. You know what I mean? Especially if it's that big of an issue. Yeah. They're going to sit there and try and change my mind and I'm not going to change my mind. Right. So like, why would they? Yeah. So at some point we have to like find some sort of better option, instead of forcing everybody to like accept this ideal. Third bathroom, whatever, right? This is a, all persons bathroom. If you want to come in here, cool. Yeah. Anybody can come in here, right? And that's just the way it is. So understand that that's where it is. You know what I mean? And I understand that again, there's like this like level of inclusivity, right? Because then, well, I'm still being discriminated against because I identify like this or whatever. But it's also like you have to understand too. Right?
I have two young daughters who I would feel uncomfortable if there's someone who identified as a man. I understand things could happen if there was still a woman in there, right?
Yeah, because
another woman may feel more inclined to fight against another woman to help protect my daughters.
That's fair. Yeah.
Where if a man's there, they're going to be scared.
Yeah, because, I mean, just for another perspective, right? Like, if I go into the men's restroom, right? I can imagine 30 to 40 to 50% of the people in there are probably bisexual, gay, whatever, right?
And is that why you just leave your dick out like that?
Yeah. I'm trying to scope them out.
Scope them out. Which is a gay one.
So I knew it.
I knew it.
Get away. It's like, and so it's like the same thing, right? Where it's like, I can go in there and say, well, he's gay. I'm uncomfortable with it, right? But then, okay, well, what? Do I now have to have a gay bathroom? You know what I mean?
No,
there's so much to it. And there's so many like things. And
that's where I think trans is a little bit different than gay and bisexual, right? In the sense of I was born one thing and I want to be another thing. In the sense of, let's be honest, if you've gone through puberty and stuff, men just tend to be physically stronger than the average woman, right? And so there's a big difference.
Yeah.
It's
all perspective.
I mean, look at sports right now. There's a big kickback now about the whole swimming.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
swimming
Wasn't
one,
there
they're
something that
suing
happened?
the NCAA right now. The
That's
girls
crazy.
because they're like it's unfair to us, and that goes against Title IX.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I'll be honest. That's one of the main ones that I like won't change my stance on is like
Sports.
athletics and sports. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's just like there's purely a difference there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
I
one's
mean,
just
try to
tough.
put women in football, they'll be murdered.
Yeah, you're crushed.
I mean, they had Cheryl Miller play basketball, and she was getting abused, and she was like a great basketball player for that time for women.
And she just couldn't cut it.
Yeah. I mean, we just got to understand there's physical difference. Not saying
Yeah.
that a woman may not make it in the NBA. There might be that one or two, but it's not going to be the norm.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
It's just like a woman could beat me in sprints, but she ain't going to be Usain Bolt. Like,
yeah.
it's just not
It's
going
just
to happen.
not possible. Yeah.
Let's go into more controversy. Let's talk about Texas and Pornhub and Florida and social ban.
Dude.
So, Texas has literally attacked against adult sites. And so adult sites fought back and they said, we're just not going to show it. Right?
Yeah, it's like a boycott.
And now, this just happened, I think, yesterday, as of today. Florida banned social media for 14-year-olds and under. So what do you think about this?
It's one of those things where, you're starting, and I understand that it's this topic, right? And I feel like this is where it becomes difficult because a lot of people are going to be like, well, porn is bad, or, kids are going to get, their prey online or whatever it is, And so it's tough to like argue against, but I think that it's just one of those steps where it's like, how much power are you going to give the government to make decisions for you?
That's
You know
exactly what I
mean?
want. Yeah.
As opposed to, and it's tough.
You
because-
taking ownership as a parent.
yeah, because, okay, like this is the thing. So if I changed it to anything else, like if I said, I don't know,
Amazon. You can't go on Amazon if you're
you
not
can't
14.
go on Amazon unless you're 14 or younger. People are going to be like, oh, well, if my kid needs to buy this or, whatever it is, then they're going to stand up and argue against it, right? But you choose, it's all very strategic too.
Yeah.
You choose two things that are super controversial, right? Porn and social media, right? And you say, which side are the people mostly on, right? Especially in red states, right?
Yeah.
Like Florida and Texas. I bet 100% of the people, that voted for this kind of shit or say that I'm super this or I'm super that are probably using these things, right? Are going to vote for it because socially they have to now. You know what I mean? I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor, I'm a whatever. You know what I mean? So now I have to say that I voted this way about it, right? And so you're like, you're forcing them to make that decision. And then that force of making them give you that decision then allows you to go another step. You know what I mean? Because at some point it's going to become it's funny because usually you think they start with small things that people wouldn't really like argue about or whatever, but they're choosing those huge, big, controversial arguments, right? That people are definitely divided on, right? One side, other side, there's no gray area.
Yeah. And they're taking away more and more freedom and autonomy from people. And it's not done just like overnight. It's just like the frog who's been there in the water boiling over time and then dying. It's slow boil. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Perfect example is 9/11. When 9/11 happened, they did the Patriot Act. Written in the Patriot Act, they could get away with a lot more.
Yeah.
You know what's happening right now? The ban on TikTok. I recently looked at a guy, I forgot his name, and he was talking about in the middle of this bill, there's pretty much more rights to the government to invade your privacy.
Yeah, I mean,
and so they're invading more and more. At what point are we going to say enough is enough?
Even with like the porn thing, right? Like I know that they're like, well, you can still go on it, but you have to like, what do they say? Like submit your ID or like take a photo or something like that of
Gotta
yourself.
get a VPN from somewhere else if you want.
Yeah. And it's like, how do you know about that, bro? What are you doing?
You sent me the article.
I didn't send you nothing, dude.
Stupid.
But it's like, yeah, and it's like, okay, well, I know they're gonna be like, well, it's just for verification purposes or whatever. But then it's like, okay, is it going?
Well, now they have a picture of your photo ID.
Yeah.
What are they going to use it for?
Yeah, and it's like, oh well, he went to some porn website, right? And it's like even beyond that, like, do you remember years ago there was a website called Ashley Madison? Do you know about that website?
Yep.
Yeah, and it was like specifically made for people to cheat, right?
Yeah,
that's what it
was. It was made.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then it
for
got
wealthy people.
and then it got hacked, and they like released all of these people's information, right? And it's like. Okay, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, cheaters are bad. right? Like, oh, well, it's good that they got hacked and all their information got out. You know,
They got hacked.
Yeah, and then it's like, but now
two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, and then now it's like this thing, and it's like, okay, well, what if that site that they store this information gets hacked on, and then all these people are ousted for looking at porn? You know what I mean? It's it's too goddamn much. To me, this is already like, and I know
we're getting further and further in the deep hole.
Yeah, and it's funny too because you look at these things where it's like the red states that are like, no big government and let me make my decisions.
They're making all the decisions.
And they're the ones that are letting them make all the damn decisions.
Because I told you, left or right, they work together to screw you over.
Yeah.
It's no more about autonomy and like they don't really hold conservative values. They don't really hold liberal values. There's no such thing as conservative liberal. It's like, what social construct do I want to be a part of?
Yeah. Yes.
And that is the issue.
Yeah. There's no more parties. There's no more whatever. It's just like what side of whatever.
My Republican friends, you're wrong. My Democrat friends, you're wrong.
You're wrong too. Yeah. Because it's like, at the end of the day, they work for the government.
Yeah.
You know, and
they're working for big business.
And they're working for themselves. They're working for all the people that invested money in them.
Yeah.
They're working for the 1%. They don't give a shit about you, dude. They don't give a fucking shit. It's like you continue to like choose sides about stuff and be like, well, I'm blah, blah, blah. Fuck it, man. Now you don't have porn. So look at that.
Look at that. Yeah, you have to get yourself a VPN. Nathaniel told me
you're gonna have to go to the adult video store now.
Adult video. Oh, dude, that was hilarious. Now that porn's not legal in Texas,
I'm about to start investing in adult video stores, bro.
You gotta get 3 DVDs for $19.
You're gonna rent them, bring it back all sticky.
Oh, dude. Let's talk about the demise of humans some more.
Oh,
and so AI is getting crazy good, dude. That one video of the robot and then he's talking to him, pausing like he's talking like a human.
It was like human speech patterns.
And he was like, I need something. I'm hungry. I need something. He picked the apple.
Out of all the things.
Right. And he asked him why. He's like, it's the only edible item that was in front of me.
Yeah.
And then he puts the dishes in the rack.
And the thing that I thought was
while he's putting the trash away.
Yeah. The thing that was so weird is that they asked it to do like multiple tasks and ask it questions, right? So it was like, hey, could you put this trash away and set the dishes to the side? And then while it's doing that, they asked it another question, you know? So it's like fucking a human being, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm putting the dishes away, you asked me a question about whatever, oh yeah, and it would even like stop and pause and say like like it's thinking,
dude, it was crazy,
you know, super weird, dude. It was like cool, you know, like super cool, but it's also like real scary at the same time, you know, because it's just like it's advancing so fast, you know what I mean? And I've said this on the podcast before,
science fiction,
really, and it's one of those things where this is a super huge tangent, but it's like talking to you the other day and talking about TRT. And we were talking about gains, right? And how much stronger you get. We were talking about how our TRT person, or Don, right? We were talking about how Don was telling us that like, you're going to get strong, right? But the tendons, joints, ligaments, things like that progress at a slower rate. Right. So you can't just go and slam weights because at some point you're going to fuck your joints up. Right. Even though you might be strong enough to do it, et cetera, right. And, you know, I was thinking about other stuff and how, you know, the way the mind works and how we still get stressed out because we think we're going to die and lose food or whatever it is. And just how old like our bodies are and how they run on like this old technology. Right. And thinking about, you know, how you're saying the gym, right? And how the gym, or we were talking, it's like a simulation of the life we used to live, right? Where things had to be moved and we had to work and do stuff like that. And how slowly we as human beings are advancing as opposed to the way our environment is advancing, right? And we are just not keeping up. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, at the beginning of last year, AI was like almost like a silly thing. You know what I mean? We were like, oh, ChatGPT can't even fucking figure out how to do, you know, a simple sentence. Yeah. And now we have robots talking like humans. What the fuck, dude? That's insane, fast. Dude. Yeah.
It's insane. But yeah, I see your technology right there, your Android.
Yeah.
Right. Apple's getting sued. You know that, right?
Yeah. Good on it too. Man.
Yeah. Once more stuff comes out, we'll talk more about it. But I am glad it's happening.
Yeah.
Because they are scamming the United States.
Fucking dumb. And we all knew it too, you know.
I've been scammed, guys. I've been scammed.
Yeah, you've been indoctrinated.
So we've been talking about the demise of humans, right? Let's talk about like the good things about humans and like how they survived back then, right? right?
Okay.
Let's talk about electrolytes.
Uh-huh.
Did you know milk was a really good electrolyte drink for humans?
So
and they used it in like desert areas and stuff like that.
So I've heard that milk is better
And commercial sports
hydration, right? Yeah, than better
Ooh,
commercial
milk.
sports drinks.
So bad for you.
And even like water, right? I guess after exercise and things like that, because it's full of shit. You know, it has potassium, calcium, magnesium, I believe too. It has all these things that I know to most people probably are just words or like, oh, it's a vitamin or mineral or whatever. But we literally use those things in muscular contraction, right? Which is what your body does all damn day. If you want to breathe, you got to use your muscles, right? And there's constant like exchange, right, of these things, the sodium potassium pump, right, and all that stuff. And it's one of the better forms of hydration right out there. And I know that was one of the big things with like the got milk like push, you know, big milk, big cow out there, you know.
I mean, it was a big part of the Mongolians actually winning cheese and dairy.
Oh wow,
like,
dude.
Like milk.
Yeah, they're powered by fucking Parmesan cheese, bro.
Yeah. Genghis Khan's your daddy.
Yeah, he's everybody's daddy, bro.
Hey, you got nipples there? Can I milk you?
Bro, stop, I'll let you, bro.
You ever took a milk?
So
Can I
fucking
drink
hydrated. Yeah. So we need a farm, you know.
We need a farm. All right, we got 2 more topics, and then we'll go into our studies. Okay, this next one's about Ozempic, and you sent me a video. I'll let you explain the video.
Yeah.
I had a lot of thoughts on that video.
Yeah. And so, okay, so obviously Ozempic
First of all, this Jack guy is talking.
Yeah, he's fucking huge. Yeah. He's talking about Ozempic. He's talking about the it was definitely a biased opinion, but he was kind of framing it in sort of like an unbiased way of like, we'll make a decision. But I was like, how am I supposed to make a decision after you just like dropped this shit? You know what I mean? It was very like pushing. Anyway, he was talking about Ozempic and how it causes weight loss, right? It was definitely a medication created for diabetes and how it controls sugar regulation, insulin production, stuff like that. In the research, again, we all know it kind of started to help with weight loss. So now they're prescribing it for weight loss pretty easily, I'll say. You know, you don't really need, it's like, it kind of reminds me of the way that marijuana is prescribed in other places where you're just going to be like, my back hurts. And they're like, you want some weed? You know?
Yeah.
And it's just a way to make money. Really, you know. Anyway, he was talking about how it causes you to lose weight and how a lot of the weight loss comes from lean tissue. And it was also talking about the way that the fat cells are affected and how Ozempic as a medication causes the fat cells to shrink. But he was also saying that it causes the fat cells to multiply, right? So there's more smaller fat cells, right? And that's kind of how you lose the weight, right? Lean muscle mass, and by decreasing the size, I guess you could say, of fat cells. And so he was saying that, you know, once you're off of it, now you have more fat cells, actually, you know, and that over time, all of them are going to maybe return to original size, right? Depending on what you do post treatment, right? And then you're going to end up fatter than you were before, right? Because now you have less lean muscle mass and more fat cells, right? And so at the end of that, he was like, just make a decision, you know, what you want to do.
Even though he just bashed the shit out of it.
Yeah. And so that was the video.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
Okay. So the first one is,
number one, we're both more jacked than him. You know, I just want to say that first.
He was way more jacked than us. He was probably on not just the HRT replacement. But okay, the first thing I want to say about the splitting of the cells, right? That can happen even if you do a bodybuilding show. The problem is the group that they're testing and the group that they're having does not work out. So therefore, what they're doing is they're dieting down, losing tissue because they don't work out.
Yeah.
And that's causing their body to go, quote unquote, I hate this term, survival mode, right?
Yeah.
And anytime you're in this, even when bodybuilders get down to their low percentage of body fat, the way they bounce back matters because cells only can split then. It's not like they're splitting because they're taking Ozempic. And I didn't like the wording of it. Yeah. They're splitting because you're going so low so fast.
It definitely made it seem like it was a cause of Ozempic.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
They're splitting because of that. 2, the person who's doing Ozempic is probably not getting enough protein to retain muscle mass. So therefore, they don't know how to eat properly. We have never been for or against it. And we just said it's a tool.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And most people abuse a tool.
Yeah.
Right. And the gaunt face thing, happens because they're losing it so fast. I could literally have someone who's not using Ozempic, who's not eating,
or working out.
or working out, getting that same face. It has nothing to do with his Ozempic. If we think about Ozempic, it's just a tool. And all those things he says is just when people don't eat. It's the same concept, right?
Yeah.
It's just you're going to have to put the work in at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's what nobody talks about. You have to work out. You have to learn how to eat protein. You have to learn how to be consistent. And what Ozempic does, it gives you a tool to not feel so hungry. So if you use it just like gastric bypass, I'm not for or against it. I'm there if it's like an emergency.
Sure.
If someone does really have trouble like with eating habits, but I think Ozempic's a better choice at this point to get rid of cravings and then learn how to re-eat and reteach yourself.
Yeah. It's tough. You know, I have a client right now who came to me already, had been doing Mounjaro. It wasn't Ozempic. Very similar product.
Ozempic, Mounjaro, and Wegovy or whatever.
We were talking today actually, and I was asking her about her weight loss progress and stuff like that. She's lost 80 pounds in about a year. Okay.
And how high did she start from? That's
she was at 217. Okay.
80 pounds from 217.
That's about 6
a lot
pounds.
in 1 year for like that drop.
For 12 months.
If you would told me 300, it'd be different.
Yeah. So she's from 217 to wherever she is now. Yeah. She lost about 80 pounds in about a 12-month span. Okay. That is about 6 to 7 pounds a month. Right. And so I'm like, that's not insane. Yeah. You know, that's not crazy. Right.
I only think it's crazy because there wasn't, at a certain point, there wasn't a lot of fat tissue to leave. Yeah. So to lose that much that quickly towards the end is what really kind of.
Let me say this next part. So for a while, we were not training together. She had some things going on, whatever. Came back to me recently, you know, sent me a text and was like, hey, I'm ready to start again. And I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. You know, we were talking about it a little bit. And she was like, one of the main reasons that I came back was because I just felt so weak. Like I was just extremely weak, having difficulty completing tasks at work, etc., stuff like that. And I was like, you know, like that makes sense. Yeah. You know what I mean? We weren't working out during the time. You know, she hadn't worked out for, I think, at a pretty extended stint while being on the medication. So I would assume that a lot of the weight loss had to have been at least some amount of lean muscle mass.
Y'all didn't have the metrics of lean tissue, body percent fat?
We did, yeah, but I didn't have them before. So she came to me probably already like 6 to 7 months into the process. Okay. Yeah, so it's like I don't really know where she was at before, which is unfortunate, right? It would have been cool to see, you know, but it's one of those things where I'm like, you know, this is the process, you know, and it is tough because I know that we do say like, well, you just have to learn how to eat protein and stuff like that, but a lot of these people, bro, like looking at food is like I can't even think about eating it, you know, and it's pretty extreme, you know what I mean? But
don't you think the dosage also makes a difference? Like
I'm sure dosage makes a difference. I'm sure
if they have a doctor or someone who actually listened to them, like maybe for example, if we were to take it and we were to talk to Don and Don would be like, well, maybe take a less of a dosage. It might be too much for you. Yeah. Even though it seems to be helping.
Maybe you have a slower weight loss progression, right? Which is, you know, fine in some cases and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, you know, I truly do think you should think about it, you know, during the process, you know, of making the decision of whatever you're going to do. I think if you are going to take it, you definitely need to be working out. You definitely need to be at least trying to get protein intake in, you know, during it to maintain as much lean muscle mass as possible. But, you know, people can do what they want to do.
Yeah, dude. So this last topic, let's talk about gaslighting women, you know. That's what Nathaniel does best.
That's my favorite thing to
do. No, but the Washington Post says there's a bunch of misinformation about birth control.
I don't think I saw this one. What is this?
Oh, buddy, you're about to learn. Yeah. There's a lot of misinformation about birth control and that women shouldn't be getting off their birth control, right? About, you know, they're not feeling this or that. It's all misinformation. And it's crazy because there's a lot of women who have gone off birth control and stories and stories and stories. And this is why I love social media is you can change the narrative quicker. Yeah. And now I think people are starting to realize like, just like testosterone affects men, birth control affects women hormones. And they're like, oh shit, I didn't know I was losing energy because of this. I didn't know my fertility issues are because I was on birth control for so long. And when I got off, it didn't really help. You know, and I think it's time that these old narratives go away about gaslighting women into believing that they're just crazy and their body's doing this. That's pretty much what the article is saying. Like, birth control is okay. Like, it doesn't do anything to them. Dude, it's in our water, and our testosterone is as low as it's been ever. You were 20, what? When you started taking it? 25?
25, yeah.
And you were low.
Yeah.
That wasn't normal back
That's
then.
like should have been my peak.
And then we even talked about in our testosterone episode, the theory is that because women are on birth control, it affects men and they're non-rising of testosterone. They're not rising in testosterone because there's no animal instinct to raise your testosterone. So it's crazy to me that we're still talking about birth control as nothing. There's no side effects. Everything has a side effect when you mess with the system.
It would be similar if we talked about testosterone like that, right? Yeah. And we were just like, no, it's fine. It's going to happen if you take testosterone. It's just normal. You know what I mean? And it's like, how are you going to tell me that? You know? I don't know, man. I think there's a big conspiracy to keep us all subdued and dumb and tired and sick and weak. And I truly believe that is what's happening, man.
Did you see, before we move on to like the studies, did you see there's a movie? We've been talking about there's going to be a civil war in America.
Yeah.
There's a movie coming out. And at the end of it, he's like, what type of American are you? And it's like Civil War.
Interesting.
It's
what
like
movie is
a
that?
battle. I think I can't remember the name, man. We'll look it up after this.
Okay.
But in the trailer at the very end, he's like, what type of American are you? And there's like two Americas like fighting against each other.
I mean, it truly is what's happening at the moment.
Yeah. It's just happening online right now.
It's happening online.
Like look at Florida, the thing about Texas. And then I think people are done with politicians, man. I think it's getting to that point, and corporate America, and they're getting frustrated. How do you create 400% more productivity, but don't get 400% of the money, and it's just going up to the top? Like, that makes no sense to me.
We need a fucking revolution, man.
And then I think you sent me this one about what it actually takes to be comfortable in the United States. The numbers were outrageous.
Dude, outrageous.
Now,
man.
I will say they shouldn't take the average. They should take the median.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's fair.
Right?
Yeah,
because average in New York City versus California versus us in Texas
very different.
Way
right?
different.
Yeah, but it was just a quick picture, and but yeah, one of my friends actually posted it, and I was talking to her about it. And I think it was like if you're a 2-person household with, I don't know if it was 2 kids or 1 kid, I can't remember. It was like to be comfortable, you had to make like $200,000.
I would say that's a little outrageous in our city and state.
Here in San Antonio, right? Yeah. But even then, it's like maybe how much different is it, et cetera, whatever. But I was just thinking about it, and I was like, man, me and my partner alone together make $100,000 less than that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah,
I feel like 100,000 together today, like getting a house and everything like that, is a struggle.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, I'm living the process. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's insane. When I thought about it, I was like, wow, we make that much money together. And it's like, you're looking at shit and you're like, how are we supposed to pay for this? How are you supposed to get groceries? How am I, should it be that way? I don't fucking think so. No.
No, I'll just pull you up by the bootstraps.
Yeah, dude. I just got to stop buying coffee every day.
It's that fucking Starbucks coffee. All right. Study number 1, 5 factors to ensure infant thrives. Okay. So it says start with good nutrition, breast milk if possible. The baby is going to need a stimulation, lots of looking, reciprocal interactions, exposure to language, and increased stimuli. If at all possible, you should live in a place where you don't have to consistently be looking over your shoulder. Lastly, you must help the baby learn how to regulate themselves, developing regular circadian rhythms.
And sleep.
So I think those are just human things that you just need, right? Like overall. And I think too, I like the part that said where you don't have to be looking for over your shoulders. It just shows you how important a safe environment is.
Security, right? Yeah. And that's like, and security can come in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Like financial, right?
Financial security, right? I'm in that article, there was at some point in it where it was like, if you've never lived in like financial hardship, then you literally don't understand how hard it is. Mm-hmm. Like just as a tidbit, the other day I was thinking about stuff because we were talking about things and like, what it would be like building a house and, what if it needs work and et cetera and stuff like that. And I was talking about my childhood and, it's kind of funny because I look back and I'm just like, my childhood was, I guess not formal. But it was also like, I look back more and more and I'm like, man, I think I lived in poverty because I'm like, we would like sit down and laugh about the fact that like we had, you know, 2 rats in the house that we were trying to catch, or like, oh, a possum crawled through the wall the other day and shit. And you're like, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't think that was normal.
Our parents' generation did a really good job of like making sure we didn't feel like we were broke.
Like it's funny because I'm sitting there and I'm like thinking sort of almost fondly on those moments of being like, oh, that's just the way it was, you know, and it's like we just did what we had to, and you know, whatever, and all this stuff. And it's like, but also that's kind of insane, you know what I mean? Because I look at, you know, other people's situations that I know and I'm like, wow, you had a pool at your house? Like the fuck, you know what I mean? Like that's insane, you know what I mean? I had to drive over to not my subdivision's pool, you know, but like the community pool for the entire county I lived in, you know what I mean? And it's like these levels of security or whatever it is and stuff. And it's funny because, I was looking at them and they call them the thrive factors, right? The T factor, which are these 5 things, I guess, good nutrition, right? Stimulation, security, right? Sleep and stuff like that. And it's like, these are all just things. These are like the hierarchy of needs. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would argue there's one more factor that they didn't point out on there, was having a 2-parent household, and not just for sleep reasons, for being able to deliver a stress-free environment for one parent while the other parent deals with it.
Yeah.
And I know our cases are different. Like my kids have more of that.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how much that affects your daughter, like going back and forward.
Yeah.
And I know you think about it quite often.
There's a lot that affects it. You know what I mean? There's a lot that affected me when I was younger with it too. You know, that I guess at the moment you don't necessarily realize, right? But it's also, you know, I was talking to my therapist about this recently too, and she was saying, you know, like in terms of like safety or stability or things like that, like there can still be some semblance of that, you know, as long as like, well, I have a home here, I have a home there, you know, et cetera, whatever it is, but it's totally different, you know, when there's 2 people currently in the household, you get 2 different perspectives or things learning from that person and this person.
You balance
each other out, right? If I'm going too far one way, the other person is able to kind of pull it back or talk, you know, there's so many aspects of it. Whereas when you're one individual and you have to deal with that, it's like, I have to be both sides, you know, of this, and it's difficult. And definitely I think that there's a difference clearly, you know, between people that I see who had 2-parent households, even if the 2-parent households fucking sucked, you know what I mean? Like even if the parents were like not super loving and all this stuff like that, like they still were like up here, you know.
Well, there's a book called The 2-Parent Household book. It's crazy, or 2-parent privilege. It's crazy how much of a difference if you look at the statistics and numbers.
Yeah, and that's
all logically. Nothing. I'm not being emotional. It's all logic. It's all numbers. It's statistics. I'm seeing it in front of me as my daughter talks to me about like her friends and
a lot of it
and stuff like that.
And like you're saying too, it's like a lot of it is going to disappear, because it's becoming more and more common for split households, right? For like
it's crazy how common it is.
It is the norm now. You know what I mean? I talk to people now, at least my age or whatever it is, or like families and things like that, and I'm like, whoa, you grew up with both your parents and all your siblings in the same house? Like, what the fuck?
That's like, weird, right?
That's insane.
I think that's how it feels for my daughter.
Yeah,
like both your parents are like they're like, I talk to my parents and stuff.
Yeah, it's like I'm sure most families are probably pretty broken now. You know, quote unquote broken. I want to like put a negative connotation. Right? Split. Yeah.
All right. Second study: stress influences brain psyche via the immune system. Chronic stress affects the immune system and the brain. Researchers now show that a particular enzyme found in cells of the immune system enters the brain under stress. In mice, it causes them to withdraw and avoid social contact. This newly discovered connection between body and mind and stress-related mental illness could lead to new treatments for depression.
Yeah, this one is interesting.
And so, like, to me, it just shows, like, how connected we are. This is what I take out of the research article, is people keep on trying to separate the brain and the body. And it's like, it's one entity itself.
Yeah.
I even try to teach my clients, like, the way your eyes look can change your movement.
That's what I tell people that all the time. Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, all right, I want you to look to the left. All of a sudden their left side works really good and the right side doesn't function as well. Or maybe they look to the left and they just feel better. And I'm like, yeah, because your structure of your face is so strong on one side versus the other, it's affecting down the chain. You don't even realize it, or how the nerve responds.
Yeah. Yeah. It also made me think a couple of things here, because it was saying that there's like a certain thing, right, that gets produced. I think they call it MMP or something like that. I can't remember what it was. That gets produced and it crosses the blood-brain barrier and it messes with the web of neurons, all this shit, which is like not important, I guess, in concept. But it was talking about how it caused like the mice to like recede, right? To like kind of come back home or be isolated and things like that. And it kind of like struck me and I was like, I wonder what the evolutionary purpose of that is. Maybe it's
I thought about that too.
Yeah, I was like, maybe it's to force you to remove yourself from that stressful situation so that you can like process or just, get out of it or whatever. And then later on you come back or whatever it is. But I think the issue that we have now is that you recede into it and then you're on your phone and there's no way to actually sit and process that stressful situation. So you just continuously are stressed all the time, and you can never like really get out about it. It also made me think about people who are like introverts or homebodies and things like that. Right. Me. Right. And it's like, I wonder if that is even our actual state. You know what I mean? Maybe it's because we grew up in stressful environments or we had whatever, or I am in stressful, all these things. And it just made me think about stuff. And I was like, I wonder how much this affects a person's like individual personality,
Yeah. And it could be from the mother's birth, right? You don't even know.
Yeah.
It just shows you how complex things are. I hate when people act like we have the answer or when a doctor says, this is how it's done. Like, it's so confusing. It's so evolving. We're finding out more and more, and we'll probably never know the answer.
Yep.
All right, guys. Before we go on the fitness questions, I just want to remind you that you can go on strengthsolutionsempowered@gmail.com and send us a message to ask us future fitness questions. If you want us to name you, we can name you on there. But we do the second portion so we can answer personalized fitness questions. All right, first question. I had someone who was interested. They don't want to be named. Who would be a good candidate for a gastric sleeve or Ozempic? Right? And to me, someone who's a good candidate is someone who's already working out, who's already built the habit of trying to get better.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't been able to get better because their overconsumption of food is so embedded to them habit or from some trauma in life. To me, those would be the people that are perfect candidates for this, to use it as a tool because they're going to try and get better.
Right.
A person who's not a good candidate is someone who's just overweight, who's never tried. They don't even work out, like don't even try to do anything with fitness. Those are probably poor people with a chance to succeed after they're on these things. Yeah. Because they'll bounce back.
Right. I think you nailed it. I think the only thing I would add in is like medical intervention situations like extreme obesity or if you have diabetes, right? That's the only other two. But honestly, I think that is the exact candidate. That is the person that you want. I don't want the person who's never tried to lose weight or ever made any attempt at doing anything the right way, right? Who just comes in a mess and is looking for a fix. That's who I would say, like, go figure it out first.
Question number 2. What do you think is a mistake trainers make when getting a new client? So I know I'm guilty, especially in the past, is starting people out with the same exercises. And if you see a trainer do this, it's because they're comfortable and they're not really looking at you as an individual. So I used to start a lot of people out with the barbell back squat.
Same.
I don't do it anymore. Yeah. I made so many mistakes.
It's like, I don't even, dude, I've had some clients for like a very long time that we still don't barbell back squat.
What I do is I use it as a testing mechanism and I'll like try it.
Yeah.
And then I'll pull them back and then I'll try and I'll pull it back.
I guess just to clear that up, right? Like we're not talking about assessments per se. Right. Because I'll start people off with stuff that I know is probably going to be difficult, not on purpose to be like, or anything, but it's just like, I can tell from the individual or what we talked about that I know this is going to be hard, but I'm using it as like a standard because I need some sort of standard. Right. So that's different. Right. But yeah, definitely coming in and being like, we're going to hit it hard and we're going to lift super heavy and not even listening to you. I think that's what I would say. The mistake most trainers make is not listening to their client. Already having them come in and having like this predisposed, like, I know I'm going to do this with them and they're going to get that done and we're going to do this meal plan and we're going to do whatever. And even though that, like, what the fuck is the point of the consultation?
No, it takes a little while as a new trainer to like get this down. It's hard because you have all these preconceived ideas. And that's why I always ask so many questions at the beginning now.
Yeah.
Like, what do you really want about it? Because I think a lot of people don't even know what they really want.
Yeah.
And so even as they're training with me, I'm like, are you sure you want to head this route? Do you want to do more traditional? Do you want to do animal flow? Do you want to do mace training? Do you want to do kettlebells? Like, I want to know what you really want. Or do you want me just to guide you and lead you?
Yeah.
You know,
consultations done well. Like, like sometimes I get asked to do an assessments and things like that. And I'm like, I have 45 minutes to do it. There's no shot that I'm getting an actual assessment done.
Yeah.
Like, I know it kind of sucks, or maybe I need to be better at it or whatever, but it's like, I need like an hour minimum,
I think the talking is the most important part.
Yeah.
Not getting your body percent fat measurement, not doing how many push-ups.
I could care less.
I need to talk to you first.
Yeah. Like,
and then we could use the next session as I've been set up. Mine is like, we just talk. The next one is an assessment, like an actual physical assessment. And then the one after that is a mock workout based off the assessment.
Yeah, I fucking love
and
it.
So
like,
that's
it's like a 3-part. Yeah.
Process.
That's like honestly how it should be done. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we start too fast. And then also by doing a 3-step process, they're not going to come 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
They're probably to come maybe once this week, once the next week. And that also gives me time to get them to write down their nutrition.
Yeah.
What are they doing at home?
Right.
What are they sleeping? Because when they come to you, they're not going to be conscious about these things, right?
Yeah.
You want them to become conscious of these things so you can coach them along the process.
Yeah.
A big part is coaching, not telling them what to do.
Right.
All right. Question number 3. What are ways that you can get stronger without gaining muscle? I don't want to get bulky. I want to be stronger, though.
Okay.
This was a female person that I talked to.
Okay.
And I was like, easy, right? Stop training like hypertrophy.
Yeah.
No, but I was like, honestly, I was like, look, if you want to train strength, you want to train the movement.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. So, for example, some days you'll come in here. Let's say you want, because you're doing it like a powerlifting, right? Some days you'll come in, you'll go a heavy back squat. Another day you'll come in, you want to do back squats super light, just practice technique, change tempos. Maybe you learn how to explode out of the hole. Maybe you're learning how to do the eccentric portion. And the other days are just practice. And one day is actually true heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the program I was doing recently, it was like the first, and I've talked about it already, but it's like the first day was pretty intense. It was like a volume day, I think it was considered. The second day was a recovery day immediately. You went from doing 5 sets of shit to doing like 2 sets of 5 at like 60% of your max. Way down. You know, you did maybe like 3 exercises that day. The very last day, you were hitting it hard. You were working like to a top set of 5, and then that was it. Done. You know what I mean? And so that's like how you train strength, right? Because I don't think I really got any bigger in that. You know what I mean? I've been about the same weight for a while. I'm sticking around 200, but I've gotten way stronger. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. If you look at Olympic athletes, I think, versus bodybuilders are huge.
Yeah.
Olympic athletes are not that big.
Super lean.
There's that guy. He dresses up as a janitor. He goes up to big guys and moves their stuff. I forgot.
Why can't I think of his
But
name
he
right
is
now?
super strong. But he's not a huge guy.
Alexi, but it's not Alexi.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
Maybe it is. Yeah. Super like you. If I say the word power lifter and the image that comes to your head is not this guy,
Yeah. And he's picking up these huge guys, deadlift bars, moving them over like they're nothing. Yeah. And you can see the bodybuilder guys like, what? Like,
yeah. It's just a difference in training.
Yeah. Strength is way different than gaining muscle. All right. So this is the last question here.
Yeah.
This comes from Gabriel.
Yeah.
Nathaniel's brother.
What's up, bro?
He said, I was listening to an audiobook by Jacko W. I don't know how to say his last name.
Willenick?
I know who Jacko is, or Jocko, sorry. I know who he is, where he makes the statement that humans should be on a paleo diet and that carbs are bad for you, saying that they are addictive and make you fat. Do y'all agree with this statement?
So number one, I have to imagine this is slightly paraphrased, right? I'm sure there was maybe more to it or whatever. Yeah. I also want to start it off and I want to let you know that he had a preconceived notion that we were going to disagree with him, that we were going to say he was straight up wrong. And I was like, hey, don't be putting words in my mouth. So I'll answer first because I know he was kind of excited to hear what I had to say, and then I'll let you go.
for it.
So paleo diet, first off, that's like caveman shit. You know what I mean? It's like,
To me, it's actually one of the better diet choices out there.
yeah,
really.
yeah. So I was gonna say that. So I think the only thing that it has is there's no grains,
Yeah,
right?
which I love my rice.
That's the only thing I think that is not allowed, right?
Yeah.
Like purely, but you can have
And some legumes and beans. and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah, and maybe nuts
And
too.
dairy.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's like anything that's like, I guess
Meat, vegetables.
you can have meat, you can have vegetables,
Fats.
you can have fruit, right? You can have all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like it's pretty
Yeah, it's not that
clean,
bad,
you
yeah.
know. It's not bad, you know what I mean? I get why there's no grains and things like that. I understand. Now to say that humans should be on the paleo diet, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people might. So this is what I was gonna say. I'm gonna put this down. I was gonna say that I think that it's a pretty optimal way. I think that that's like not bad. I think that it might be one of the more optimal ways to eat. I do think it is one of the better diets. It's one of the ones that I have less to say about.
Like Whole
Right.
30 is another one, right?
Whole 30 is another one, right? It's these sort of like whole food, no processed shit. You know what I mean? Like, yes, we say the same stuff on here. You know what I mean? All the time.
Yeah.
I do think that it's a great way to go if you can do it, right? Now, if it's not realistic, then it's not something that I should say, like, you should be doing this. You're supposed to be doing this. Because I feel like that's kind of the intent.
Yeah.
Is that we're supposed to be doing it this way. The other half about saying carbs are addictive and make you fat. That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one to kind of like get by or just pass through or say I agree, disagree.
I think I disagree just for one. I know this guy's jacked, right? So this motherfucker better not act like he didn't eat carbs to get big, right? So that's my problem with it, right?
No, it's broccoli and that's
Fucking
it, bro.
asshole.
No, it's broccoli and chicken, dude.
But for real, okay, this guy is a huge guy. I know exactly who he is.
Go talk.
You
I'm
can
gonna
bring the
look him
picture up.
Yeah.
But look, to build muscle, you need to be able to fire your muscles harder and stronger. Carbs are a big part of this. I think the point he's trying to make is if you're sedentary, is
Goddamn.
have you never seen him?
It's a big dude. I have seen this guy.
Okay.
I just didn't know his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is huge, athletic. And I bet you maybe paleo works really well for him.
Sure. Yeah.
But he probably used carbs a lot during his process before doing this. And now he's on paleo and he feels better for now, right? In the moment.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden paleo can turn horrible later as he age.
Sure.
Maybe he needs more carbs or maybe he needs a more keto kind of diet.
Yeah.
So carbs are not bad or good. It's
Yeah.
all dependent. And I think we're more about paleo is a great diet.
I think
But
it
it's
is.
very individual
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And I guarantee you that's how he got big. He did a lot of carbs early on in the process because
Yeah.
it's hard to gain muscle
Yeah.
without good amount of carbohydrate.
Because also ridiculous to say that paleo doesn't have carbohydrates in it. It does.
It's
Maybe they're not processed, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're not refined.
but it's hard to get them
Yeah,
in there.
yeah. But it does have them, right?
Yeah.
So I think simply to say like carbs are addictive and make you
Oh,
fat.
that fool ate rice, bro.
Yeah,
I could tell you.
yeah,
And potatoes.
easy, right? And I think that another thing is, I think that what he should have said is processed food is addictive and makes you fat,
Yes.
right? That's what should have been said, not carbohydrates. Because you're going to tell me rice is addictive and makes you fat? Come on, bro. Every bodybuilder is fucking on that shit. You know what I mean? So you can't tell me
Well,
that.
I mean, look at Asian culture. They eat a bunch of rice and they're not
They're
huge.
fucking little, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's insane to say that part,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's more of an argument against processed versus whole food is what we're really talking about.
I
here,
think we
right?
just need to stop demonizing protein,
Yeah,
fats,
yeah.
carbs. Stop demonizing these macronutrients. Stop demonizing certain foods.
Yeah.
As long as they're whole, they're most likely good. And then you got to, the problem with fitness and health, you got to think about it as an individual. And this is why strength training is so complex too. It's such an individual thing. And that's why coaching matters. And that's why getting you to think about what you're doing really matters versus me telling you what to do. You need to take ownership at the end of the day. And I think that's what Jacko is really good about is getting people to take ownership of their life.
Yeah.
And if people don't take ownership, you're never going to get the results that you want. And I'm not that harsh of a person. And me and you are like more like, okay, let's try to do this. But at some point, you got to take accountability for what you're doing.
Gotta exit bitch mode, bro.
You got to exit bitch mode. That's the best way to end here. All right, guys. If you like what we're doing, please rate and review us on Apple and Spotify. So stop right now. Tell your friend what's up. Then we're on YouTube. Please subscribe. Tell a friend right now also to subscribe. Leave comments down below. We would love to hear what you want us to talk about, or is there something to do, or how amazing I am and how horrible Nathaniel was. Then, if you're looking for a website, it's ssempowered.com. We have free blogs, free guides, and programs for there to purchase. If you're looking for fitness questions, strengthsolutionsempowered@gmail.com. Then social media, Facebook, Strength Solutions, TikTok, strength.solutions.pod, Instagram, Strength Solutions Empowered. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Until next time, guys, what?